The Association of African American Museums was organized as an advocacy group for a group of Black museums, founders, and directors who had organized grassroots museums in at least 30 Black communities between 1945 and 1978. Black people had been organizing since the 1800s to preserve their history in books and libraries, cultural organizations, pageants, Black churches, and in college museums and HBCUs. As a cultural wing of the modern civil rights movement, this museum movement sought to create spaces where Black stories could be told accurately and authentically, inspiring pride in Black history and culture as a key way to support individual and social self-esteem. These pioneering Black museum founders and directors came together to form the African American Museums Association on February 17th and 18th, 1978 in Detroit. The name was later changed to the Association of African American Museums, or AAAM, marking a significant milestone in the preservation of Black history and culture. Today, we honor the senior members of this historical founding group, Dr. Margaret Burroughs and Dr. Charles H. Wright. Dr. Margaret Taylor Goss Burroughs was born in 1917 in St. Rose, Louisiana, and moved to Chicago as a child with her family. Burroughs earned teaching certificates from Chicago Teachers College and later a Bachelor of Arts degree and Master of Arts degree in art education from the Art Institute of Chicago. She co-founded several institutions in Chicago, including the Southside Community Arts Center in 1939 and the DuSable Museum of African American History in 1961. Co-founded with her husband Charles, the DuSable Museum was originally known as the Ebony Museum of Negro History and Art. The museum debuted in the living room of their home, where they invited people in to see art exhibits, hear lectures by figures such as Paul Robeson, and hosted activist discussion groups. The museum moved to its current location in the Washington Park area in 1973 and became affiliated with the Smithsonian Institution in 2016. Dr. Burroughs' impact extended beyond her artwork and museums. For over 30 years, she taught creative writing and arts at Stateville Prison and DuSable High School, inspiring countless inmates and students. Dr. Burroughs also co-founded the influential National Conference of Artists in 1959. Her commitment to education and art as tools for transformation left an indelible mark on the lives she touched.
Margaret took her love for art in that high school to go on to want to instill in us our beauty, the beauty of being Black, the beauty of having a Black skin. She made us aware of the fact that we come from a wonderful history of kings and queens of Africa who did fantastic things in terms of developing the society of Africa before the whites invaded Africa. And so we had that kind of history that helped to make us proud of who we were.
Dr. Charles Howard Wright was born in 1918 in Dothan, Alabama. Wright received his Bachelor of Science degree from Alabama State College in 1939 and his medical degree from Meharry Medical School in 1943. He completed his OB/GYN residency at Harlem Hospital and opened his practice in Detroit in 1953. A renowned obstetrician and gynecologist, he was also a passionate advocate for preserving African American history. In 1965, he founded the International Afro-American Museum in Detroit. After garnering city funding support, the museum moved to a more central location and later became the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History. Dr. Wright envisioned a museum that would educate future generations about the struggles and achievements of Black people in history and art. His tireless efforts in community service and historical preservation laid the groundwork for what is now one of the nation's largest institutions dedicated to African American history and culture. Dr. Wright was a committed advocate for education and a prolific writer. He believed strongly in the importance of learning about one's heritage and authored several books on African American history and culture. A noted activist who was passionately focused on health outcomes in the Black community, Dr. Wright traveled to serve as a resident physician during the civil rights marches in the 1960s. In 1995, Dr. Wright authored The National Medical Association Demands Equal Opportunity, Nothing More, Nothing Less. Deeply involved in his community, Dr. Wright participated in organizations like the Detroit Medical Society, Michigan Historical Society, and the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. He was a devoted family man, often involving his wife and children in his work and community activities. Dr. Wright's prolific writing, community involvement, and unwavering commitment to education and heritage preservation continue to inspire the celebration of Black history across the nation.
I felt like I knew Dr. Burroughs and Dr. Wright before I ever met them. And for meeting them, I was never more than continually impressed. Both that they had, between the two of them, pioneered Black museums outside of the context of historically Black colleges and universities, which was generally where such institutions were founded. And by doing it outside of the context of a college or university, they had underscored certain values which remain paramount to now. One is that the museum should be fundamentally an educational entity, and that it should have a historical grounding, and that it should look to the public as its audience.
They had this tremendous passion of setting the record straight, but they also had so much in common. They both were dealing with kids. She was a teacher, he was an obstetrician gynecologist. They both saw how children, Black and white, really needed to know the history of the African American experience.
The bond between Dr. Burroughs and Dr. Wright was forged through their passion for preserving Black history and instilling pride in their community. In the years before AAAM was founded, their mutual recognition of the importance of a unified effort led them to hold numerous meetings with other Black museum founders and scholars from around the country, discussing the need for a national organization to support Black museums. Crucial to these meetings were Rowena Stewart, Barry Gaither, and Reverend John Kennard, the founding director of the Anacostia Community Museum, which could provide space and administrative support for these efforts.
Now, this importance of meeting with each other, it was grounded not just in informational needs. It was grounded more fundamentally in emotional needs, because we were all working from a place of mission. If there were one thing that distinguished the original group of institutions, it was a very strong sense of mission. And it was that sense of mission that overrode the strictly rational analysis, which would have said we were too poor to be undertaking all of that stuff in the first place. It was out of the kind of passion that has created Black entities over our whole history in the nation where we are. It was supporting that sense that we have to do this for our posterity, for our children, for ourselves.
Despite funding and societal challenges, the determination of Dr. Burroughs and Dr. Wright, along with their network of committed associates, led to the successful founding meeting of AAAM in 1978. Leaders from various institutions gathered to establish a unified network, recognizing that stabilizing these fledgling institutions was of utmost importance. Both Burroughs in Chicago and Wright in Detroit used the political savvy that they had learned as local activists in their respective cities to garner city-funded support and land. AAAM sponsored some of the first seminars with federal and foundation funders. Their efforts helped stabilize Black museums in various places.
I really believed in the association. I believed in what it was doing. And one of the things that that struck me very early, you go to these conventions like AAM and AASLH, and you're surrounded by a sea of white folks, and you feel like you are an alien within the group. You never feel, or I never felt comfortable enough to say that these organizations were my home. And I wondered at one time whether or not this was just a feeling that I had, but come to find out in talking to other people felt like this was a breath of fresh air, with colleagues, camaraderie, take care of business, but we enjoy each other's company. So I just think that AAAM has been a wonderful resource for the entire community.
Through their partnership, Dr. Burroughs and Dr. Wright personified the power of collective action in achieving lasting change. Their legacy lives on through the work of AAAM and its member institutions. The Margaret T.G. Burroughs and Charles H. Wright AAAM Fellowship honors the founders by recognizing and uplifting emerging museum professionals each year with a AAAM membership, full conference registration, and mentorship. For decades, this fellowship has honored both the legacies of Burroughs and Wright and the mission of AAAM by providing professional opportunities and nurturing the next generation of leaders in Black museums. The journey, led by Dr. Burroughs and Dr. Wright, continues.